Clarence Thomas did what he did best, other than being utterly corrupt. No, he gave a horrible reasoning on an absurd opinion on a terrible ruling by the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court ruled yesterday that South Carolina Republicans did not in fact engage in racial gerrymandering when they redrew the map of the state's first congressional district. Basically, they said there was no evidence that they were motivated by racial bias when they took 30,000 predominantly black residents from the first district, the district that Representative Nancy Mace represents, and then just threw them into another district so that they would have a better chance of winning in that race. Apparently arguing that's not racial bias, that's just political bias. And thus, obviously that should be allowed. It seems crazy to me, but here is what Clarence Thomas had to say about this. He doesn't just think that they were fine to do this here. He doesn't think this is something the court should ever consider. He said, in my view, the court has no power to decide these types of claims. The Supreme is literally in their name. Does he know where he works? Drawing political districts is a task for politicians, not federal judges. There are no judicially manageable standards for resolving claims about districting, and regardless, the Constitution commits those claims exclusively to the political branches. The court's insistence on adjudicating these claims has led it to develop doctrines that indulge in race-based reasoning inimical to the Constitution. So the fact that the Republicans were using race-based thinking to give themselves the white electorate that they want to protect an incumbent, that's okay, that's fine. It should be the people whose jobs depend on the maps that decide on the maps, not the court. And that is what he believes. Hey, I'm glad you're here. Listen, in order for the Damage Report to keep on going, we need viewers like you to become a member on YouTube. Can you click the join button on YouTube today? Thank you. He goes on to effectively demonize Brown v. Board of Education, which perhaps we will turn to, but Brett, what do you make of this?
I mean, yeah, we all know, Clarence, Your Eminence, that the Supreme Court, I disagree with John's characterization, just because it has the term supreme in the title, that it gets to, make any decision it wants and weigh in on all kinds of stuff. It is only the top. But that's just what the Supreme Court does before they make their decision. They decide whether they're allowed to decide that decision based on whether the other people have standing or whether this is a constitutional question at all. But what my key thing is who's gonna do it? It seems wildly insane to assert that it makes sense for the politicians to decide their districts. It doesn't make any sense. None of it makes sense. And the effect of it is detrimental to democracy, as the founders themselves, they had a lot on their plate when they were deciding how to set up the way things work. And some forms of corruption were basically the seeds were there, but they hadn't been invented yet. This is one of those things that got invented later that we need to fix, gerrymandering. It's the way around it. Now, I understand generally the thematic concerns of should race factor into a form of discrimination or an action by the state? And the answer in many cases is no, it should not. But as we're gonna get into with Brown versus Board, that was a unanimous decision where they said, you are creating a situation where people are being discriminated against based on who they are. And the lone dissenter in even the separate but equal decision, knew what it was. We can't have these kinds of discriminations in America.
Yeah, look, the reason that that he is taking this position is because while both parties engage in opportunistic gerrymandering on a macro level, it is not equal. And when you log the states and you look at the percentage of congressional districts or state house districts or whatever that go to the Republicans and what their share of the actual vote is, it is so wildly out of step. It mirrors, in effect, how they don't need to be that popular across America and still regularly could win the Electoral College. Because those things serve to protect Republican interests, Clarence Thomas, who is not truly a legal being, he's a political being, is okay with it. If that flipped, then they would be against it and maybe we would have reform. And I would like to think that if it flipped, the Democrats would still be willing to be consistent on it. And if not, then the Supreme Court, again, should step in. You should have people whose future employment, their money, their access to power is not based on manipulating the electorate. And it's just super convenient that that's the position that Clarence Thomas takes.
Right. The specific, like there's things we can't, there's things we can't have in America. We can't have situations that happen all the time. We can't have a situation where the gerrymandering is so bad that even though more people vote for, say, Democrats in a state, there end up being more Republican representatives to the point of a supermajority. Like that has happened in America.
That has happened.
That happens all the time. And it flips vice versa. But no one's going to unilaterally disarm in this system, except Andrew Cuomo, when it's going to hurt them in the long run. And potentially it's going to be the Democrats who do it. And the Republicans aren't going to do it because they did the Mitch McConnell thing with the Supreme Court nominations. Like it's just really bad. And 100%. These guys are going to take advantage of it until it ends up ruining everything. And again, Brown versus Board was unanimous. It just wasn't enough people on the Supreme Court. Everybody said that was the right decision to make.
Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.